Hello, everyone. Welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform for thought leaders to share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in real world. And I'm your host, Helen Yu. Today's topic is AI and iPaaS. Our special guest today is Subhash Ramachandran, who is the program director for WebMethods product management at IBM. Hello, Subhash. Welcome to CXO Spice.
Thanks, Helen. It's great to be here.
Yeah, before we dive into our discussion today, please introduce yourself and your role at IBM.
Sure. I am at IBM. I manage the WebMethods products. I'm responsible for product management. I just recently joined IBM. It's been a little less than 6 months. I was previously at Software AG, responsible for the WebMethods products. And as many of you know, WebMethods, the products got acquired by IBM. And starting July 1, I'm now part of IBM.
Congrats. Thank you, Subhash. It's great to have you here. So let's dive into our discussion about AI and iPaaS. How do you see webMethods enhancing IBM's existing portfolio, particularly in relation to Watson X and IBM's hybrid cloud offerings?
Great question. Before I get to that, let me just quickly give you my background. I have over 25 years of experience actually in the integration space. And honestly, I've seen so many trends come and go, all the way from MOM, message-oriented middleware, to EDA, to ESB, SOA, cloud, API, and interestingly, back to event-driven architecture, EDA, which is an interesting development, and we can talk more about it sometime in this program. But with regards to your question around how can WebMethods enhance IBM's portfolio, the most important thing here is that both WebMethods and IBM have had a great presence and legacy in the integration space. And so IBM's acquisition of WebMethods actually greatly expands the addressable market for IBM in this space. So it's really great news for WebMethods products, WebMethods customers, and for IBM, because we are now going to be such a big presence at IBM and helping IBM become that undisputed leader in the integration market. Now, one of the key facets of the integration or the acquisition was that IBM has been about hybrid cloud and AI. And actually, that fit in so well with the focus that we had at WebMethods, right? So hybrid was, in fact, our calling card. And what is hybrid, right? So we see organizations actively moving to the cloud, but most of our customers, and similarly, most of IBM's customers are hybrid, meaning that they have a presence in on-premises, they have a presence on private cloud, and they have a presence in public cloud, right? And so we see hybrid, the ability to deploy across any one of these targets, being that key deployment pattern across most of our joint customers. Okay. Now, we know that IBM was a pioneer in AI, right? Over 20 years ago, we would hear about Watson. And now with Watson X, along with the fact that even at WebMethods over the last couple of years, we've been early innovators of bringing AI adoption into the entire integration lifecycle. So if you look at our joint strategy, is to build out a unified hybrid iPaaS that brings together the best of the IBM and WebMethods products and the people. So one of the things that I'm very excited about it is not just the products that IBM acquired, but people like me from the product side, the engineering side, the sales teams. We all came into IBM, and we want to bring the IBM hybrid iPaaS, a product that encompasses capabilities around app integration, API management, B2B integration, managed file transfer, and event automation into a single coherent platform. And as I said before, the goal is to really make IBM the undisputed leader in the integration market.
Wow, that's fascinating, right? I love the point you really mentioned. It's not just the product they brought in, it is the people they also brought along the journey. That's a great segue for our next question, right? I'd like us to shift our focus to a broader landscape of digital transformation. How does IBM view integration as a competitive advantage in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape?
So we're going to start with the integration problem, right? So the integration problem began with the rise of independently developed applications that did not talk to each other. Okay. And so what happened as a result is the data, the very valuable organizational data, continue to get locked behind all these different applications. And so integration as a discipline really emerged as a way to get access to this data, to bring this data across multiple applications, right? You have to synchronize, say, customer records across multiple applications. And we know that data is the lifeblood of any organization. And the data as that lifeblood continues to be the competitive advantage for business. And so if you don't have a good way to unlock that data and make that data accessible, what good is it? And that's why integration is such a key aspect and value that is brought to businesses today.
That's,
Now,
yeah, excellent point. Yeah.
yeah. And so every major IT initiative over the last couple of decades has actually required integration to be successful. So if you think about maybe even a decade ago, right? Remember Gartner was talking about the four forces, cloud and mobile and social and big data. And then more recently, over the last 5, 7 years, we've had digital transformation, and none of these initiatives become successful without a good grounding in integration, right? When what does that mean? Without the ability to access data locked behind all these different app and data silos. And without that, you cannot delight customers, generate loyalty, make supply chains efficient, right? So it's that cause and effect. And now add AI, right? In fact, I have a funny story about AI. I was presenting at an AI event earlier this year. It was actually a government event. I live in the DC area. And there were about 6 or 7 agency CIOs. And even though the topic was AI, for the first 30 minutes, all that these CIOs could talk about was the application silos and the data silos that they live in, and without access to that and the data ingestion, and what it takes to feed this hungry data, this hungry AI monster. There's no discussion to be had about the value that AI brings without solving the integration problem, right? So there you see, not just the competitive differentiation, but the basic requirement that integration brings in order to even make something like AI, sort of useful and beneficial within the organization. And then, later on, I'm going to be talking about composability. And this is something near and dear to my heart because what integration also allows you to do is bring about a composable business architecture using underlying components. I equate it to Lego blocks, right? You know how Lego blocks are so simple and you can easily put things together. Just like those Lego blocks, we have the corresponding Lego blocks within integration that you can easily put together to build a business solution.
That's fantastic, right? I can certainly relate to what you just said, Subhash, because having worked with CIOs and CTOs, oftentimes the challenges about the silo, how do you break this silo, collect the right data, right, to really feed that into a workflow and then make that work. So integration is really major to that. But given the current business climate, I'm curious, what role does integration play in helping business address current challenges such as cybersecurity threats, economic fluctuations, and regulatory requirements?
And this is such an important question. I was just talking to a client a week ago, and the number one concern they have is on security, right? So you're spot on around cybersecurity threats. Uh, Before we get into how integration plays a role and helps businesses, we have to also look at the role of APIs, right? So I've always said that APIs is the face of integration. In fact, we used to say APIs and integration are two sides of the same coin, right? Why? Integration unlocks the data, and APIs provide the access, right? However, what has happened is APIs have now allowed organizations to expose all their enterprise data, very sensitive data, to both internal and external users. But along with that access comes the potential for bad actors to access this very sensitive data in some cases, right? Now, what has worsened the situation is the proliferation of APIs, right? I mean, APIs is everywhere. Organizations don't think twice about rolling out a new API because it's so easy to provide access. But this proliferation has further increased the attack surface, right, for these bad actors, these cybersecurity threats to even emerge even more. So one of the key aspects to that make integration important and complements it is a good API management strategy, right? That is critical for protecting your sensitive assets and further complementing it with API security tools that can proactively monitor threats and vulnerabilities is a critical part of what you have to do as part of an integration infrastructure. Okay. Now, once a cyber attack happens or is in the course of happening, being able to quickly lock down access to enterprise data, and that's what a strong API management layer allows you to do, right? Certainly, we want to prevent it, but if it does happen, how do you quickly lock things down? How do you know what is available? What are the APIs that you're exposing that you want to lock down, right? So those are some of the ways that organizations are not only viewing security, but also proactively looking at how do I secure access to all this wonderful data that I have there, right?
Mhm.
Now, in terms of other, some of the other aspects you talked about, like supply chain and we know integration is mission critical for lots of businesses. In fact, not a day goes by when I talk to our clients and they talk about how important integration is. Without integration, the business literally comes to a grinding halt, right? We power billions of e-commerce transactions. We handle trillions of dollars of payments, right? That's what integration does. And it allows businesses to very rapidly handle, changing business climates and environments, right? And
Mhm.
that's where the economic disruptions are. I mean, there are disruptions happening daily, weekly, monthly, right? Geopolitical disruptions, global disruptions. And integration, if you think of integration, it's this nice abstraction layer that really protects you from all these major disruptions, allows you to quickly react to change, and gets your business back in business, right, for the work that they have to do, right? So that's a big role that integration plays. And then finally, on compliance, right? Compliance is another key aspect, right? Whether you're in banking or you're in healthcare industries where compliance plays a big role, but it really goes across so many other industries as well. Organizations actually rely on integration. Why? To get full visibility, auditability, traceability into this data usage, access, and the processing, right? So if you look at all the key aspects of what a business needs, integration continues to play a very important role. And that's why we say it's mission critical to the business.
Yeah, it's very well said, Subhash. I think two key points I got from those APIs, the face of integration. I love that. And then it also provides you the visibility, auditability, and traceability. Those are really insightful explanation. So what are the main integration challenges enterprises currently face, and how do they impact operational efficiency, cost, and customer service?
Yeah, so what we've seen over the last many years is the rapid growth of applications, data, devices, right? All this continues to grow, increase, expand. And now it's driven more so, even more so by AI, right? So the need for integration is well known. In fact, I always say integration is evergreen, right? That need has never gone away. If anything, it's only increasing more and more. But the way organizations have tried to solve this problem by building point-to-point integrations and point-in-time integrations
Mhm.
has actually created complexity, right? They've created these brittle connections. They may have someone who just created something very quickly, tactical, without thinking about the long-term implications and so on, and consequences. And so what this has done is created complexity,
Mhm.
created inefficiencies, and rather than solve the silos, the application silo problem, you have now created an integration silo problem, right? You have these silos of integration to solve the integration problem. Now, this problem was further worsened a few years ago when digital transformation initiatives started exploding, right? And that drove the need for more integration. And what did organizations do? They chose the shortcut of building quick and dirty point-to-point integrations. And so this approach has just increased the complexity and has worsened the problem, right?
Mhm.
Now, these islands of integrations has created, islands of different automations that people don't fully understand, lead to governance issues, lead increases operational costs, and limit innovation, right? So we believe this is unsustainable.
Mhm.
So we have a term for this, and so all this complexity is what we call the chaos of connectivity, right? This is
Mhm.
the technology that is supposed to have fueled innovation and transformation, and in fact, holding organizations back is called chaos of connectivity, and this is the result of poor decisions, poor architecture, and trying to solve problems without necessarily thinking about the long-term consequence.
Well, thank you for highlighting these significant hurdles. So how do these challenges manifest in complex IT environment, right? And you think about how has a complex IT landscape, as you mentioned earlier about siloed system, vendor sprawl, or hybrid cloud environments affect business ability to innovate and modernize.
Right. So this complexity, right, that we call the chaos of connectivity, leads to a number of business challenges, right? The first one is you lose visibility into your customer data. Once you do that, this can lead to declining customer satisfaction, lower repeat sales. It's going to affect your top line, right? In fact, a recent survey that I saw said that 89% of customers will compete primarily on customer experience. So if you're missing this very key element, it's a sure way to lose customers. Okay. Next, we know that central IT and a lot of the organizations that we work with are central IT. We know they are overloaded, right? They have this constant growing backlog of IT projects. And if they are constantly blocking, if they're constantly overloaded with work, how are they to help drive innovation and move that business forward, right? And this constant this increasing backload is also creating this gulf between business and IT. Business does not respect IT anymore. They feel that if I would go to IT, it's just going to take me weeks and months and years to get anything done. Let me just go off and do stuff myself. And some have done that, and that results in more of the chaos of connectivity, right? Businesses go off and build their own applications or build their own integrations. And again, the problem continues to worsen and worsen. Then what happens is when all this growth gets stifled, the essential requirement for any business to compete and thrive gets greatly impacted. And then finally, when you lose market share, that's really the start of the end of that business. So this is what businesses are looking at if they don't follow the right approach for how to do integration.
I echo what you just said, right? I've seen that happen at many organizations. There's shadow IT, shadow AI, and 89% is a large percentage, right? We cannot really ignore. But looking ahead, there's a significant trend we should also consider with expected rise of 1 billion new applications by 2028. How can businesses prepare its integration strategy to handle this increased complexity?
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy number, right? If you
Yeah.
think that the problem, the number of applications is huge. Wait till 2028. I think it's from an IDC survey. And so how do organizations prepare for this huge increase in applications, right, by 2028? One thing, it does underscore the growing complexity and capability of the application ecosystem. We know that, right? Your ecosystem is getting more complex. It's getting more hybrid, right? Something I talked about at the very beginning. And to excel in this dynamic environment, you have to effectively utilize integration, APIs, and they become essential for successful hybrid multi-cloud as well as AI transformations, right? So it becomes very important that you need to go down the right path for you to become successful. So how do you do this, right? So for IBM, for us, the key word here is platform, right? So we talk about a unified hybrid integration platform as a service, right? The keyword there is platform, right? And the hallmarks of our iPaaS, or integration platform as a service, is central control and distributed execution. So let me explain what that is, right? So if you look at the IT landscape today, I said it's hybrid. What is hybrid? That means applications, right? Again, integration always starts with applications, right? So applications today are strewn across on premises, right? We still have core ERP systems like SAP on premises. So, that's continued to sit there. Core banking applications, if you're talking about, large banks, those continue to be on premises. So that's going to continue. Increasingly, we know the cloud has been around now over 10, 15 years. A lot of applications are going to the public cloud. As well as applications, we do see vendors move applications from on-premises to private cloud, right? So you are looking at a very distributed IT landscape, right?
Mhm.
So in a distributed IT landscape, what is the role of integrations and what is the place for integration? So integrations typically follow applications. Now, if applications are distributed, you also want the integrations to be distributed. Why? Because integrations work best when they are co-located with the applications for the reasons of performance, low latency, right? So you want, because when organizations first migrate to the cloud, one of the big realization they have is, oh my God, this performance that I took for granted on premises with my high, gig speed internet, I don't get that same level of performance and responsiveness. And that's because the internet, can be is slow, right? Connections can be spotty. We all know how that works, right? And when you now talk about a very distributed IT landscape, you have to now traverse multiple firewalls, network boundaries, and that takes a toll on performance and latency, right? So you have to keep all these things in mind. But we have realized that the best way to architect an iPaaS is with the knowledge that we do need distributed runtimes. And I'll talk about some of the work we've done to improve performance and latency and really get it almost close to what organizations have been used to. But also having this central control, right? Once
Mhm.
you have distributed runtimes, it makes it very important that you have a central control plane, which gives you full view into all your connections, all your integrations, allows you to have end-to-end view into everything that is going on within your integration environments. Okay, so that is one aspect of what our platform brings, which is central control, distributed execution,
Mhm.
and unified visibility, right? Think of it as a single pane of glass. Now, the other aspect that we talk about with integration is not a single problem or a single use case. It's a
Mhm.
multifaceted problem, right? So there is application integration, right? You have two applications that need to talk to each other. There's B2B or partner integration. So we have suppliers, we have customers, EDI transactions, XML transactions, flat file transactions. These are done between businesses, right? Business to business. And that's another type of integration. Then don't forget, we may be in the year 2024, but files are still pretty much frequently used as a way to integrate, data. So file-based integrations are there. APIs have been rising in prominence over the last 5, 7 years. So APIs. And then events, right? Events is now fast becoming, and remember I talked about EDA,
Mhm.
EDA or event-driven architecture. Events are fast becoming an important way for event-driven integrations to be part of this overall set of problems that our integration platform has to solve, right? Why do you need a single unified platform? Because it helps save time, reduces rework, and eliminates all these different siloed data that hamper the growth of a business. So these are the reasons why we believe a single unified integration platform and iPaaS is the right approach.
That makes total sense to me, Subhash. I'm interested in learning more about the potential solutions. Can you discuss how a unified integration approach, such as using hybrid integration platform like iPaaS, could help reduce complexity and accelerate modernization efforts?
Sure, I'm glad you asked. This is our core platform, our core value proposition. So our message to the market is it's time for a new way for you to think about integration, right? So
Mhm.
the IBM hybrid iPaaS, as I mentioned, offers this multifaceted approach to integration, addresses all the different use cases, app integration, B2B, partner, API, file-based event-driven integrations, right? So that's sort of the starting point for the discussion. Now, we strongly believe that a hybrid integration strategy is absolutely required since most customer organizations are not just on premises, right? They're hybrid, right? They're on
Mhm.
premises, they've got applications in private cloud and public cloud. And since the integration strategy follows the application strategy, it makes a lot of sense that you have a hybrid integration strategy that allows you to do what we just talked about, central control and distributed executions. Now, there are three overarching benefits to what we bring at IBM to the iPaaS discussion, right? So
Mhm.
we've talked about the functional highlights, but what are the non-functional highlights? And this is important for your audience to understand, right? The three benefits are agility, productivity, and governance. And I'll explain this, right? So, what is agility? As the name implies, this is enabling quick adaptation, flexible working methods, being able to very quickly address the needs of the business. That's the most important thing. That's what, when we talk to IT departments, and in fact, I was just at a CIO event last week presenting, and a lot of the challenges that CIOs and senior IT leaders talk about is having that partnership with their business counterparts and being able to quickly meet the needs of the business. We are in a fast changing environment world where disruptions happen all the time. I mean, if a blockbuster could get disrupted by Netflix, within the, within just a couple of years, you can see what keeps these business leaders up at night, right? In terms of the challenges ahead of them, and the last thing they want is a slow IT department, right? So agility is a very important aspect that we bring. Second one is productivity. So productivity is not just about being able to do things very quickly. Obviously, we want users to accomplish more with less effort, right? Work collaboratively. That is there. But one of the challenges that we've seen in integration and actually development at large is the ability to bring more and more user personas into the fold, right? So traditionally, what's happened is development has been the area for specialists. You need computer scientists, and you need these, expert developers to build integrations and architects, right? Without them, oh, nobody else can do the job. Absolutely not, right? With today's low code and no code tooling, we can absolutely bring business analysts, less technical people, even non-technical people, right, like business technologists into the fold. And we call this the democratization of integration, right? So we want integration to be an activity that every single person in the organization, anyone who's a subject matter expert, you may be a business expert, you know how your business works, why cannot you take that knowledge to simply build out a quick integration if that means going into Salesforce and grabbing some data and exporting it to an Excel spreadsheet, right? Why cannot you do that yourself rather than have to wait in line for IT to do that for you, right? So productivity for us is to not just allow users to do more with less, but also democratize, the users, the number of users that we can bring into the fold. So it's these analysts, getting the specialists, the analysts, the software engineers, all working on the same platform. And then finally, governance. So as soon as I said productivity and bringing all these users into the fold, there goes the red flag for the IT departments. Oh my God, I'm losing control. What are all these users going to do on my platform? That's where governance comes in, right? So governance is the ability to grant the autonomy. Sure, I want these users to come in and build things on their own. But as central IT, I want to create the guardrails, right? I want to ensure enterprise grade security, privacy, data jurisdiction, right? I want to adhere to all my corporate rules and policies, yet give autonomy and flexibility to the end users to build things on their own, right? So that is really the power of governance and being able to have those guardrails in place at the same time giving users all the flexibility they need. So
Love,
agility, productivity, and governance are really the hallmarks of our platform.
love that because I'm smiling because I'm just going through the same scenario with the customer as we speak. I love your explanation, right? The agility, productivity, and governance. I'm going to steal that using that with my client. Hopefully,
Sure.
you don't mind.
No.
Speaking of that, let's explore the role of AI in this context, right? How do you envision leveraging AI and automation within integration strategy to improve productivity, reduce manual effort, or enhance the decision-making process?
Yeah, so we obviously see Gen AI greatly improving productivity, right? We almost see like a 10x improvement in productivity across all the integration personas. It doesn't matter. I just mentioned, we cater to developers, we cater to software engineers, and we cater to business analysts, less technical users. And across, all these personas and across all the stages of the integration lifecycle, we actually see a huge improvement in productivity. So let me explain, each of these life cycle stages. So let's begin at design time, right? At design time, using a prompt-based user interface to help generate an integration, right? How cool is that, right? If I instead of yes, I want to take leads from Marketo and I want to create opportunities in Salesforce, right? Simple prompt, What if the system could do that for you? And it's not even a what if. We have the ability today as part of our integration tooling for users to be able to put in a prompt and for the system to be able to generate the integration. And what it does is it creates the business logic. Okay. It does the mapping, the transformation, the enrichment, right? But it doesn't stop there. We're talking about an enterprise class tool here, right? It does the error handling, the retry logic, the alerting, the notifications, right? Along with creating test cases, the unit test cases, putting it in a CI/CD pipeline. And that's the difference, right? There are some tools, some vendors who may say, oh yeah, we are using AI, you can generate integrations. But having been in this integration space now over 25 years, like jointly WebMethods and IBM, we realize enterprise class capabilities are what end users want, right? What Global 2000 organizations who are our customers want. So they want the end to end. They want all the way from building out all the way from generating integrations, creating the test cases, putting it as part of a build automation, right? That you can run nightly, adding it to your DevOps pipeline, running these CI/CD processes, and whenever you see errors, uncovering it, fixing it, so that every night you're going through this rigorous discipline of build, 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 deploy, and test, right? So that is what we bring to the table at design time, right? For most human developers, that's an afterthought, and they have to be reminded to do that. What if the system could do that for you, right? So this is an important part of the automation effort that companies are also looking for. They're looking for the best in security and the best in automation, and putting all this, in as part of our design time using Gen AI is a big part of what we offer with automation. All right. So that's a design time. Then we have explored, and we have rolled out chatbots to help basic question, documentation question. Who wants to go through a 100-page document, right? What if I simply ask a question and the chatbot came back to me with the right answer for how to do something, right? How about, I have 1 million transactions flowing my system every hour. Do you think it's possible for me to go and query these? Why not ask a chatbot, hey, what are my last 5 transactions that failed, right? Bring it up. Let me quickly see what happened. How do I drill down? So really, now leveraging the power of AI through a chat-based user interface to get to the data that I quickly need, right? Then at runtime, getting better business insights from my transactions, right? Now going a step further, detecting anomalies, right? Predicting that, okay, I'm seeing a series of these transactions and events happen, and maybe this is going to lead to a not so good outcome. That if I catch it in time, then I can prevent a lot of bad things happening, right? Being able to auto respond, self heal, right? Identify, resolve bottlenecks. So at runtime, a lot of how we are leveraging AI is by bringing its learning capabilities, what it's seen over time, to really learn, sense, and respond. Okay. Now, we're talking about this not just across these functional lifecycle stages, but then back to the multifaceted aspect of an iPaaS, right? We're talking about the entire integration lifecycle, whether it's application integration, B2B integration, managed file transfer, API management, event-driven integration, right? And now think about the huge productivity gains that Gen AI can bring. And then finally, where we are headed, so all this is what we have already done and what's in the technology so far. We are embarking on the path of autonomous AI, right? Or AI agents, right? Which is the ability for AI to lead, right? And the human to simply monitor and obviously can interject if something goes wrong. But the ability for AI to lead, execute, and take actions on its own. So that's the path that we are embarking on.
Well, that's really fascinating, right? And especially when you talk about the build, deploy, and testing, and then documentation, automation at runtime. It's just exciting to see how all these tasks can be automated, right? I used to be in the field and then managing as a chief customer officer. All these work that our team has to be, done manually, really pose a lot of risk to, from timeline perspective and complexity perspective. So thank you for making all these innovations happen. To wrap up our discussion, let's talk a little bit more a critical balance in integration strategy. You mentioned about EDA earlier, or event-based or file-based architecture. I'm very interested in learning more, right? How do you balance the need for flexibility and integration with the imperative for centralized control and governance, especially in multi-cloud and hybrid environment?
Great question, right? So first of all, this is why hybrid cloud, which is the nature of our solution, is a major advantage for us, right? We recognize this need very early on, and this is what organizations are deploying, right? Hybrid deployment landscape. Now, recognizing that most clients have applications across on-premises, private cloud, public cloud. So the IBM hybrid iPaaS provides this seamless hybrid control, right? Allowing integrations. So there are two elements here that I just want to quickly highlight. One is develop anywhere and deploy anywhere, meaning that if I'm a developer, I love my Eclipse environment, the high power environment. I can do anything I want sitting on my laptop. Maybe I'm on a 6-hour flight to the West Coast and I'm disconnected. I have all the power in my hands to build integrations, right? That is one type of user. If I'm a business analyst or I may be an IT developer, I love the zero footprint cloud-based environment. Yes, it requires me to be connected, but I love the simplicity of the no-code, low-code tooling. I can build any of my integrations there, right? So we give the ultimate and flexibility to build your integrations anywhere, and then more important, deploy them anywhere. Deploy anywhere goes back into the hybrid cloud kind of discussion. How do I manage this deployment landscape? That's where the central control comes in, gives you the governance, the ability to see everything going on, and the full end-to-end visibility, right? So I think we've recapped some of that. Now, the most important thing that when I talk about the cloud, I talk about the cloud as not being a place, but it's a computing model, right? This model is not available only with the hyperscalers. Sure, AWS and Azure and Google may have created this model, but we see this model now being implemented across the hybrid cloud landscape, whether it's public cloud, private cloud, or even on-premises, right? Which means that this pattern, this deployment approach is now becoming important across all these different deployment targets that we talk about, okay? All right, now, along with this heterogeneity of deployments, also comes sort of this ability to look at your assets that you've created, right? So as part of your integration work, you've created, I mentioned APIs, right? You have APIs. You've created microservices. So one of the best practices for us to develop integrations is to build out these small microservices, which can be independently deployed in a container like Docker, orchestrated over, say, Kubernetes, and massively scaled out, right? So you have the ability, you have these building blocks you've now created as part of our tooling. And then events. You mentioned EDA, and I was also indicating, again, not something new. We saw EDA about 20, 25 years ago, but we see events now back in the limelight within organizations because just like APIs about 5, 7 years ago became a business term, I see events also taking a business, getting that business terminology because organizations are looking at events. And okay, first of all, what's an event? Event is something that happens, right? A business, something that happens. So purchase order coming into your enterprise is an event. A customer walking into a store is an event. A flight landing is an event. And I use that example because earlier, I used to travel a lot and I used to wait for my frequent flyer points to accumulate. It would take like 2-3 days. It was a batch process. But now when I fly, as soon as I land, within minutes, I go to my app and I see my flights being credited, right? And that's happening because they have implemented event-driven architecture to account for the fact that this event of a flight landing is resulting in my account being credited to the mines, right? So event-driven architecture events is becoming a very important asset that now can be part of my tool belt. Now, when I put all these together, APIs, microservices, and events, I'm now working towards building out a composable business architecture, right? Why composable? Because I'm not building things from scratch. I have, as part of my IT landscape and architecture, built out all these building blocks, just like Lego
That's like
blocks.
Legos, yes.
Exactly. And as soon as I say that, people get it, right?
Yes.
Exactly. All this hard work you've done, And now I can construct a business solution, right? I can have a business analyst actually compose a business solution all the way from receiving an order to order fulfillment, right? Something they could never have dreamed of before because that was such a highly technical IT task, right? So these are all the advantages. Now, if you look at in terms of what we've done with our iPaaS, what we've done with our platform, and now what we're doing in exposing the elements of this platform to help someone build out a composable business solution. So that's the path that we've been on. That's why it's so exciting. If you see, I'm very excited and passionate about what we're doing here at IBM. But then finally, just to bring it all in within the picture of that hybrid control plane, right? Providing that single pane of glass, giving you complete visibility across this heterogeneous IT landscape. You get full management monitoring of all the innovation runtimes, which means that I can quickly see when problems arise. I can quickly drill down into the individual issues, resolve the issue. And then, in fact, I remember we ran some user group meetings a few weeks ago, and being able to quickly resolve problems is such a huge requirement for our clients, right? They do not want business disruption. Who wants it, right? We all know that happens. It's software, it's documents, things do fail, but the ability to quickly recover from failures is key, right? And so that's what we bring to our customers with our unified hybrid iPaaS.
Well, that's really profound, Subhash, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And I learned so much from our conversation, but here are the 4 key takeaways from our conversation today. Number 1 is integration as a business enabler and competitive advantage. Right? You mentioned about IBM's hybrid iPaaS is designed to be a key enabler of business success, helping organizations overcome challenges such as continued change, cybersecurity threats, economic fluctuation, regulatory requirements. By turning integration into a competitive advantage, business can adapt quickly, leverage AI for increased productivity, and ensure enterprise-grade security while granting autonomy with guardrails. I got a few quotes from you. Data is the lifeblood of the business. And also you talked about the visibility, auditability, and traceability. Those are the importance of having this for business. This number 2 is a unified approach to integration in complex environments. Years of digital transformation have resulted in increased complexity, including vendor sprawl, silo systems, and diverse geographic locations and multi-clouds. IBM's hybrid iPaaS offers a unified approach to integration, addressing the complexity with a single common interface and control plane for multiple integration patterns, including applications, APIs, B2B, files, and events. So this approach helps reduce complexity, consolidate tools, and speed up delivery and time to market. I love what you said about controlled. I think controlled environment, but with distributed flexibility for IT landscape. Number 3 is AI-driven productivity and composable architecture. This is one I'm most excited about. IBM's iPaaS actually leverage AI to optimize workflows, reduce manual efforts, and gain smarter insights for decision making. I love the Lego analogy you give throughout our conversation. It's really the features like creating workflows with natural language prompts, easy integration for line of business users, and low code, no code, right? And AI powered alert monitoring and healing. All those are, the platform really enables a composable business architecture, providing the agility to quickly assemble responsive apps and take advantage of new opportunities faster. I also love the 3 things you mentioned, right? The benefit, non-functional benefit, agility, productivity, and governance. Lastly is a hybrid control and flexible deployment. The platform emphasizes hybrid control and deployment, allowing users to develop anywhere and deploy anywhere. So this approach provides the flexibility for different personas, right? Either you're IT person or your business user, and deployment model also, they're flexible with deployment models, integration types, eliminating duplicate effort and complicated local configurations. It also offers centralized control with distributed execution, enabling easier compliance and better control of the integration landscape across hybrid multi-cloud environments. Thank you, Subhash, for sharing these valuable insights, and thank you for the continuous innovation IBM and WebMethods putting forward. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.